We are Team 18, and my name's Eric, presenting the financial plan for Your Learner Education. Your Learner is a startup operating within the autism care niche. Our team was broadly tasked with creating financial projections and a functional financial model. Your Learner connects professionals who specialize in autism care with families who require their services. It allows them to manage their practice and monitor progress with their clients. Capabilities of the software include scheduling appointments, creating specialized programs, direct contact with families and staff, and direct invoicing.
The goal of our project was to give your learner all the information needed to pitch the company to investors, as well as understand financial scenarios they will encounter. First, we offered insights on market sizes and special needs funding, and then gathered information on third-party investments in the industry. Using this information, we then created a financial model and break-even analysis, and lastly, we summarized all the information to attract potential investors.
We have 5 deliverables that our team had to accomplish, beginning with an industry and competitive landscape analysis, developing a financial model and break-even analysis, and finishing off with a project summary for your learner. We used several research methods in order to gain extensive research on many competitors, market and industry opportunities, and M&A activity. Although it was challenging gaining access to some methods, including Crunchbase and Bloomberg Terminal, our team was dedicated to gather this data in order to provide your learner with an accurate and viable information.
When analyzing school boards' spending across each province, the budget for special needs education averaged between 7 and 12%. This chart illustrates the proportion of special needs expenses in comparison to the total provincial budgets. BC spends $510 million on special needs education, which equates to 8.2% of their total budget, and Ontario spends $3.1 billion, which is 12.9% of their budget. The total expenditure for K-12 education in Canada is $73 billion. This accounts for all students across each province, and Canada has maintained a 3.62% compound annual growth rate of this expenditure since 2000. Autism rates have increased from 6.7 in every 1,000 children to 18.5 in every 1,000, which is more than double in the span of 16 years. Year over year, these numbers have grown at a rate of 11.95% per year. Because of this and the growing demand for the autism care services, there has been doors open for your learner to gain a significant market share. For those who don't know what remote learning is, it's having online curriculum, while e-learning is using technological tools for education. Telehealth is just virtual healthcare. Remote learning is valued at $336 billion globally and is expected to grow to an additional $90 billion by 2023. E-learning is expected to grow at $337 billion by 2026, and the industry has maintained a 9.1% CAGR. Lastly, the telehealth market is currently valued at $61 billion and has a 25.2% CAGR.
The focus on our second deliverable was dissecting similar companies in the telehealth and remote learning industry. Overall, we chose 12 companies and pulled points on their funding activity, company metrics, and M&A activity. Across these companies, we found that there has been an immense increase in funding. Common funding resources are government grants, private equity, and venture capitals. All 12 companies' research used private equity as a source to raise capital. Company metrics provide information on potential growth targets and comparisons on website traffic and subscriptions. With this, we are able to identify how your learner compares to similar companies at each stage of growth. Using other metrics such as year-over-year revenue and customer interaction, improved our analysis by identifying growth drivers. 75% of the companies analyzed were involved in M&A activity. M&A activity was shown to provide resources such as employees, increased sales scale of production, greater marketing awareness, and operational expertise, to name a few. Venture investment trend, as seen from the graph, represents the large amount of private equity deals that have been increased over the past 4 years, and to complement this, the capital raised has been growing strongly by reaching over $100 million in 2018. On average, the deal count is around 34 per year with a capital of $74 million. As we continue to grow worldwide as an online-focused learning environment and resource for data, these numbers will continue to rise.
The third deliverable entailed developing a financial model. Using the model, the company's revenue is forecasted over a 10-year period under 4 growth scenarios. The scenario analysis was used to develop how various growth profiles in the financial model contribute to the company's overall health, as well as to develop multiple expense and cash flow forecasts. User-based growth under the conservative and optimistic scenarios begin with monthly growth rates of 18 and 25% respectively, and uses a monthly growth reduction factor of 0.2 and 0.4% respectively. These growth profiles were derived from previous micro and macro analysis. User-based growth is projected to be between 7,400 and 9,500 users depending on which scenario is analyzed. Your Learner is operating under a subscription-based pricing model where customers pay $30 per month for full access to the company's suite of services. Annual revenue is projected to grow to between 3.2 and 4.1 million by 2031, depending on growth scenario. The company's main source of expenses is driven by personnel wages and salaries, which is typical for the service industry. The financial model assumes Your Learner will onboard additional personnel as revenue grows and more resources are required to manage operations. Personnel monthly expenditures flatline as the company matures and peaks just below $100,000.
The model projects the capital intensity is higher at the beginning but will decrease over time. This is consistent with the secular trend towards positive net income and cash flow. This is the situation for each scenario. High churn and growth reaches a positive EBITDA on April 30th, 2025. Conservative high churn, October 31st, 2026. Optimistic, May 31st, 2025. Conservative, September 30th, 2026. Your Learner needs to secure funding to finance business operations until such a date when it is profitable. Discussed in the previous slide was when Your Learner begins to generate a positive EBITDA, meaning it is profitable at an operating level. However, this is not break even. These dates are when the company has neither lost or made money, but is now generating a positive return. This highlights the exact values Your Learner has lost from its various expenditures over the course between now and a positive EBITDA. These figures represent the amount of funding that Your Learner would need to secure to operate until such a date. These values range from approximately 1.1 million to 2 million, depending on the scenario.
The discounted cash flow method was used to estimate the value of Your Learner based on its expected future cash flows. The model identified the value of Your Learner today based on the amount of EBITDA projected over the 10-year forecast period. The high discount rate reflects the risky nature of high-growth startup companies. The conservative scenario is illustrated on the screen. The company's EBITDA over the 10-year forecast period and terminal value is discounted back to today. The terminal value assumes the business will grow at a set growth rate in perpetuity after the forecast period and was calculated using the Gordon growth model. The present value of all future cash flows is the enterprise value, or the total value of the company today. A sensitivity analysis was conducted at various discount rates to estimate the value of the company using various inputs. Taking a mean value of all projected outcomes, the company is currently valued between $2.47 and $3.13 million. Our final deliverable was to combine all previous deliverables into a single document that is well organized and easy to navigate. The summary included market research on the telehealth and remote learning industry and potentials for growth, an analysis of several competitors and the growth profiles, funding activity, and valuations, a financial model that created an operating forecast and a pre-revenue valuation for Your Learner, and finally, an analysis of when the company is projected to begin earning a positive EBITDA and the amount of funding needed to drive the company's growth during those early years when losses are projected.
To date, all deliverables are completed and the feedback is positive. Going forward, we have 4 recommendations for Your Learner. First, Your Learner must convert free trials to generate revenues, then apply for government grants and business loans, which will help them fund operations. They should then use this information we provided to seek third-party investment. And lastly, they should strategically hire so they do not overspend. This summarizes our capstone, and thank you for listening.